Dylan Gabriel, and you're watching the Sons of UCF.
Hello, Knight Nation. I'm Trey Strelko. Welcome to the Sons of UCF Live. Trick or treat. Can the Knights win on the road? We preview Saturday's game at Temple. Of course, we are answering your questions. Let's welcome in one half of the Sons of UCF. Hello, Adam, sans Mike tonight.
Trace, I mean, first off, are we allowed to talk to you? Do you have a SAG card now? Are you represented? I saw you featured, at least from an audio standpoint, on the new Our Time feature. Although it seemed like you were superimposed on Jason Beattie's body, perhaps. I don't know what happened there, but congrats on the lifetime achievement of making it to ESPN.
I have not seen that.
Okay.
However, I have not had opportunity to see that. Little trivia, I have been in 2 movies before. I'll have to share that. Hey, by the way, it's Halloween this weekend.
Hey, trick or treat, everybody.
And I've gotten my niece. I'm off to Denver in the morning. So one of the Halloween gifts for my niece is a book of jokes. So you ready? You ready for the first one?
Hey,
knock, knock.
Who's there?
Boo.
Boo-hoo.
Don't cry. I didn't mean to scare you. We'll pepper the show with a few more of those. On this, Gus Malzahn's birthday. Happy birthday, Coach. 56 years young today. Brett McMurphy on his Twitter said that Malzahn is the 3rd oldest coach in the AAC, 31st oldest overall in the FBS. I did not know.
I did not know that either. That's a fun fact by Brett McMurphy. Gus has really embraced the Florida lifestyle, though. I feel like he's in the retiree phase. We got Hawaiian shirts, bucket hats. Although he stopped dyeing his hair, which is interesting. Usually that's in the reverse. But happy birthday to Coach Malzahn. His tan looks better than ever.
Yes. Happy birthday, Coach Malzahn. A little other news. The transfer portal giveth that it taketh away. You remember, we haven't heard his name much, defensive lineman Stefan Zayas announcing that he's going to enter the transfer portal. Not surprising, right?
No, when I first heard that, I was like, man, that's unfortunate. I thought I remember him being an impact player for the Knights. I went back and looked at his stats. 2019, he played 10 games, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 sack. 2025 games, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 INT. Now, I know not everything that you do shows up in a box score, but I think the writing is on the wall when you're at a program and a defensive tackle gets pushed out the D end and takes away some of your potential snaps. So obviously, Stefan Zayas, I assume, looking for a new opportunity to play. Hopefully he finds that elsewhere. Definitely unfortunate whenever you see somebody leave the Knights. He seemed like a really nice kid, a really good kid. So definitely unfortunate, but I wish him the best and wherever his travels take him.
Yeah, and I think that's all we can do as fans, right, is wish him the best, and perhaps there's a better fit for him somewhere else. We've seen a couple of guys enter that portal, and of course we know the players that UCF has gotten out of the portal. You talked about it on the pod earlier in the week. Boom, boom, boom for the Knights. Knights continue to move up in these recruiting rankings. It's one of our questions in the mailbag, but last time I checked, about 35th, highest that I've seen in some time, if not ever.
Yeah, I think. Well, here's the challenge, right? I mean, as much as I'm excited about these kids, let's all not be, let's not fool ourselves. We have no idea what kind of players they're going to turn into. So this is stars on paper. Obviously, this is things you've seen on tape, which hopefully pan out. I think it signals 2 things, though, that I really like. One, that we are winning battles in the state of Florida, which we traditionally were not doing a great job at, particularly for kids who are at a high 3, low 4-star level. And then 2, we're winning battles against schools that are probably in that second tier. So the McDonald kid that came from Georgia, we won a battle over South Carolina. So if we can win those battles, build a fence around Orlando. I think this is 7 recruits in the Florida top 100. If my math is correct, I think we had 6 in the last 4 years total. So already bested that in 1 season. So if Gus can build those inroads now, I think that's a really good sign for the future. So whether these kids pan out, I hope that they do. But the reality is none of us are going to know that until they step on the field. But at least it signals that coaches, players, folks in and around high school football are taking UCF seriously and they're willing to come to Orlando.
Gators 34th in that ranking, and we talk about it now because early signing day, just a few weeks away, a little over a month away, it's going to be coming, so we'll get to know more about these Knights as we draw closer. Homecoming next week. It seems that should inspire some sort of top 5 list on your show as you record. You never know with Mike when he'll bring out a top 5 list. But I wonder where Sister Hazel might rank in top 5 concerts associated.
I got a big problem with Sister Hazel. I think they're a UF band, if I have this right.
They are a Gainesville band. I saw them in concert in Gainesville.
So what are we doing here? I don't know what. There's no Orlando band. The Backstreet Boys aren't laying around someplace that we can't grab. What are we doing?
O-Town. Remember that group? O-Town.
I do remember O-Town. I think they have a song. I don't know if I can say the name of it on air. What are we doing with Sister Hazel? There's got to be an Orlando band laying around someplace. This one, I got a penalty flag here for Terry Mohajir and whoever schedules these things.
Also scheduled Tulane 4:00 at the kickoff time, so a little bit earlier tailgating time for folks, and Sister Hazel before that. Let's go back a little bit, a couple of days. The Friday night tilt with Memphis. UCF wins that 24-7. What did you like the most in this one?
I liked the 3rd and 4th down defensive stops. This is something we've been talking about. We have got to get off the field on 3rd and 4th down. We did a much better job of that. I think 3rd down was 3 of 12. 4th down was, I think, 2 of 5, something like that. So getting off the field on 3rd and 4th down were huge because that's not something we've done really well. It seems like we've given up those big plays. We give up a 3rd and 17 early on, which had me concerned, but T-Will and the defense tightened down. I like that we're able to get off the field on 3rd and 4th down. Obviously, I think that brings the ball back to UCF's favor, and our offense can cobble enough together. So I'm going to give a tip of the cap to the 3rd, 4th down defense.
Put me down for improvement in tackling. That's been a bugaboo for me. I certainly have asked Coach Malzahn and T-Will about it a time or 3 in the media availabilities. I saw improved tackling from this bunch, and you want to see that going forward. You know, something Coach Malzahn said, it was either at his Monday media availability 2 weeks ago or after the game, that you don't necessarily see teams improve after the first half of the season. But, UCF has an opportunity to do that, especially as more and more players come back from injury.
Yeah, I like the messaging. He's doing the smart thing. He's breaking the season up into 2 seasons right now. He's saying this is the 2nd season right now. Gives the kids a chance to kind of wipe the slate clean. Obviously, injuries have been a huge part of the first part of the season, if you will. So I like his messaging. I like his, at least his approach to this. And listen, I mean, obviously we have a couple of tough games coming up, but there's the potential to go on a little bit of a run here. And if you can finish this season, the 2nd season, as he calls it, 6-0, 5-1, that really helps out, I think, to build morale going into the offseason. So I like his approach. Obviously, the first half of the season probably did not go anywhere close to what we expected, but I like his approach about kind of breaking the season up and trying to build on the momentum and the positives versus dwelling on the negatives of the first part.
Well, let's shift to a little bit of a negative in the Memphis game. Something that you did not like, let me begin, that they cannot convert third down on offense. It has been week to week to week, which, of course, you're talking about a true freshman quarterback. Good to have the running game going in this one, but boy, they just didn't convert many chances on third.
Offense has been a struggle. It really has, watching them play. And it's very clear. We've been asking every week, when do the training wheels come off Mikey Keene? When are we going to kind of let the handcuffs loose? It's just clear. This is the offense right now, folks. This is what we're doing. Conservative, easy plays where Mikey has quick reads, get the ball out of his hands, get it to playmakers' hands. This is the offense. For those of us hoping that we're going to see him go downfield, we saw the interception into triple coverage late in the game. A beautiful ball to Brandon Johnson, by the way. So if you see more of that, I'm in for it. But this is the offense until further notice, and it's going to be short, quick plays, safe plays. Let Mikey, make a couple of throws, but not let him allow the opportunity to beat us, and that's the offense, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, we turn the page. They go on the road where they have not won this season. They face a Temple team that gave up 421 yards to our friends over in Tampa. Temple 1 and 2 in the AAC, 3 and 4 overall. Saturday, October 30th, high noon Eastern kick on the Plus. Knights hanging in there about a 10.5-point favorite. We're going to get into the Temple game plan a little bit more from their perspective with our insider from the Owls. I asked Coach Malzahn, you got to like the opportunity that presents itself when you're facing a team that gave up more than 400 yards rushing.
That kind of surprised me. You look at their previous games, and they didn't do that. And so we're expecting to get their best. They are a team that plays better at home. So we're going to have to do a good job.
There have been some games with Temple through the years. Of course, the J.J. Wharton catch comes to mind from, 2013?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always an interesting series. Obviously, that we had that late one in Orlando, I think 2016, when PJ Walker threw a late touchdown to beat us. Obviously, the last couple of years have been sort of up and down. Last year, Temple, God love them. They went out there, I think, with 40 players or something like that. They traveled to UCF and they fought hard, didn't pull it out. And obviously, Temple in Philadelphia, the famous meeting, the famous business meeting for Scott Frost and the Nebraska folks. So certainly some odd tie-ins between UCF and Temple.
I love our friends on social media who made light of my red checkered shirt in comparisons to Scott Frost this week in Temple Week. Speaking of this rushing attack, we may not have a 100% healthy Isaiah Bowser, but we saw 26 carries from him, a few more than I would have liked to have seen against Memphis. I asked on my big question of the week at SignPez on Twitter, how many rushing yards against Temple? Kind of evenly split between 200 to 299 and 300 or more, about 42% each on that. You'd have to expect that the Knights, that's going to be a big part of the game plan. We haven't seen a lot from the passing game, but Temple's going to bow up. They don't like how they played last week in Tampa, so they're going to be ready to prove that was a 1 week anomaly.
Yeah, for context, this season so far, UCF put up 290 against Bethune and then 255 against Boise. So that's kind of where the high watermark is. You got to imagine Temple went back this week to practice and looked at film and said, how do we stop the run? We've got to get better there. I think that's a team that's going to take pride and try to come out and play well. So I'll be curious to see how UCF attacks that. Obviously, with our offense not really clicking from a passing game standpoint, you would think we'd lean on the run. Do we see more of the other backs? You mentioned Bowser. Do we see more of Johnny Richardson? Do we break off the mothballs that have covered Mark Anthony Richards since ECU? Does he get more run on the field? Does Trillian Coles make an appearance again? But as much as I'd love to see us run the football, I mean, I got to imagine Temple's going to try their best to bow up on the defensive side. So 290 is the high water mark. I think that maybe low 200s, mid 200s is probably maybe more realistic, but definitely going to be a battle of wills. Can UCF's run game outpace a Temple run defense?
It's funny when you mentioned Trillian Coles and Mark Anthony Richards that we saw flashes of them and then they disappear. And of course, Coach Malzahn is not very forthcoming on injury updates. I exchanged some messages with a fan and I said, perhaps we in the media room need to be more specific. Coach, is there a reason Trillian Coles didn't play? Was it because of injuries? But even when I asked him about why we saw Mark Anthony just at the end of the game, he just sort of ducked around that question.
Yeah, the Mark Anthony one is interesting because he was the lead back on that fourth quarter drive against ECU, and obviously he played well. There's some thought maybe he's still not game shape. We know he had a knee injury coming in, so maybe he's not 100%. But I have said all season long, the Gus Malzahn substitution patterns are right up there with the nuclear launch codes. I don't understand them. I don't know how you get to there. I mean, the receivers play 1 week, don't play the next. Titus had a great first game. I think we've barely seen Titus on the field. Nate Craig Myers is out there a ton. I don't think we've seen a ball thrown his way. So I'm continuing to be confounded by the substitution patterns of Gus and the offensive staff.
You're going to have a whole off season to analyze this, but I'm not sure you're going to come to many conclusions about what you learned from Gus Malzahn in his first year. Also a wild card this weekend is, do we see Jalen Robinson back?
Yeah, it sounded like I was surprised Gus revealed he'd practiced last week and just quote unquote wasn't ready to go. The plan was him to practice Tuesday, Wednesday. So I think it'd be great to see him get out there for a couple plays. We've kind of seen this. The Cincinnati game wasn't obviously the best game for a lot of different reasons, but we saw Bowser get out there and give it a go for a little bit. Then he got out. We saw Ricky Barber get out there for a little bit, and they both came back and they bounced back against Memphis. So maybe this is a game where you get, Jalen 15, 20 snaps, something like that, get him out of the game. I'll be curious to see how they're working back in. Ryan O'Keefe has clearly taken over as the playmaker. If and when you watch Our Time, Trace, you're going to hear Gus Malzahn in the headset tell one of the coaches, we got to get him the ball. He's our best playmaker. So how does that work out when Jalen comes back? He's more of a deep route threat. We haven't seen Mikey throw that route. We haven't seen Gus call that route so often. So how does he integrate back? But if he can get out there for 10, 15, 20 snaps, I think it's a win for us.
You asked me during the game at Louisville, because you could only see it so much perspective from your television, why aren't they finding more open wide receivers? They're not getting separation, right? And it really shows you that how much we're missing the guys that with Marlon and Trey and Jacob and then certainly with the injuries and the drops that also aren't helping. Mikey Keene. This is a Temple team averaging just 22 points a game, giving up nearly 34. Let's talk about the Owls a little bit more with Ryan Wallen. He covers Temple Athletics for Owls Daily. You can find him at Ryan Wallen 24/7. Ryan, thanks for stopping in the Sons of UCF Live.
Of course. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's my pleasure.
Well, we have been talking a lot about the 421 rushing yards given up by the Owls. Is that a 1 week anomaly, or is there more to that gives Knights fans some hope of being able to run the ball successfully in Philadelphia on Saturday?
I like to think that it was a 1 week anomaly, but coming out of the gates last week, we did not tackle at all. They've had problems tackling all year, and just in general, Temple has struggled to stop that run this year. Every team has been able to find some sort of success running the ball on them. I think really aside from Memphis, honestly, and Memphis, you would have expected it to happen with the pair of backs that they had, but they did have success and they fumbled, and that's really the reason that Temple was able to pull that victory out against Memphis. But last week's game, it was a matter of inexperience rearing its head and a bunch of injuries on the defensive side, and I think you saw that with, like I said, missed tackles and just guys not getting to the edge. And then USF did a really good job at the half of making some adjustments, and instead of running up the gut, they started running to the edge more, and Temple just couldn't get there in time, and they were getting manhandled along the defensive line.
It's hard to be competitive when you have 35 plays and the ball for about 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, and that just speaks a testament to how good USF's run game was against this defense, and that they held the ball for 45 minutes, and they really didn't have a drive that got stopped all night. Every drive of theirs went more than 7 plays, and they just held the ball, and they were running 5 yards a carry every time. And I think you saw from Timmy McClain's passing numbers for USF that they only needed him to throw the ball maybe 10 times in that game, and he ran the ball well. And that's where I see a concern this week, is that you don't really even need that quarterback to throw the ball. And it could be another ugly week for the Owls this week, knowing what type of backs that UCF has. And, they're very similar in their running style to USF.
Ryan, forgive me, I'm still taken back. You said the words good and USF in the same sentence. I haven't heard that often. DeJuan Mathis, quarterback, transfer from Georgia. What does he do really well? And what have you observed that he needs to continue to work on in his game?
Yeah, I think Mathis actually has been a bright spot for the Owls, considering the season that the offense has had. He is a quarterback who has a lot of good patience in the pocket, and he usually tends to make the right decision. He does not tend to put the ball in bad spots. Yes, he threw 2 interceptions last week. One of them, you could argue, he put a little behind the receiver, and that's the reason it got picked, but it was batted. And then his receiver just dropped one on the other one, and popped it up in the air, and that's what allowed that second interception to happen. So I think other than those 2 picks last week, he's done a really good job this season not putting the ball in a dangerous spot. Smart quarterback, and he obviously brings the running threat to the table as well. I think the thing that he needs to work on still is his awareness. Sometimes he tends to hold on to the ball a little too long, and he's aware of that. He has said that openly, that if he gets sacked, it's his fault. He knows that he needs to get better at that, and he also needs to get better at just being that spark of offense that the Owls need. He has the ability there, but you can still see he's young. He has an NFL caliber arm. I think we saw that last week, where he can hit Randall Jones in perfect stride down the field for a 70-yard score. But he needs to keep that composure and even when things aren't going well for the Owls, he needs to just work on being a little more mature and, being that leader on the offense and keeping his composure, keeping calm, and, not letting one bad drive get to him.
Yeah, how would you describe this Temple offense? It's kind of doing the research this week and looking at the numbers. Leading rusher, I think it's Edward Sadie, 218 yards on the year. Leading receiver, 325 yards. Obviously, you mentioned DeJuan Mathis. This is a run-first team. This is a pass-first team. Is this one of those kind of read options? How would you describe the Temple offense?
Offense is definitely primarily a pass-first team this year. coming into the year, they did not have a running back that pulled away from the rest. So it's been a running back by committee approach all year, and it's continued. They just have struggled to get the run going. No guy has really established himself as the guy. I mean, Sadie's the guy that will get the majority of the carries, but the last couple of weeks he just hasn't gotten touches because Temple's been playing from behind so much. But you can even see, even when they were winning and when they were getting seeing more success on offense, this was a pass first team, and that's a shift from the old Temple offense under Matt Rule, Jeff Collins. They were primarily a run first team. They wanted to play hard nosed football. They wanted to play that old school style, not the run it up, run the score up, Big 12 style offense. So it's been a shift this year. I think that's part of been the reason why there's been some issues, is just that the run game can't get going, and the offensive line just hasn't played well this year either, considering that they are a veteran group and they had a combined 100+ starts coming into this season. It's kind of been a shame.
You mentioned the offensive line. UCF's defensive line feasted last week against Memphis's freshman quarterback, 6 sacks. So this has been a struggle year for them so far, you say?
It has been, and injuries the last couple weeks have also started popping up along the line. Starting right tackle Michael Neese got injured in the game against Cincinnati, and he did travel to Tampa last week and was suited up, but he never got in the game. They lost guard Joseph Hooper during the game to what looked like a knee injury. Don't know the severity of that yet, but I would assume he's probably out this week based on what we have learned over the course of the year dealing with injuries to Temple players. So 2 year starting offensive linemen look to be out this week, or Neese might return, but still unsure because his looked to be a knee injury as well. We'll see if he can go, but regardless, you're going to be playing some new guys along that line, and like I said, even though they're a veteran group, they just haven't played well this year. That Cincinnati game, you saw it, that Dewan Mathis was just running for his life all night in that game. And that's what worries me, playing UCF. That's probably their strength along the defense, is their D-line. And if the O-line doesn't protect him, it might be another ugly game for the Owls offense.
Of course, the Owls did beat Memphis, and Memphis trotted out a freshman quarterback on Friday night. UCF's defense did well against him. Take us back to that game. How did the Owls get out with victory?
If you would have asked me after the first quarter of play, I wouldn't have said that Temple would have even won that game, because they were down 17-0, I believe, early in the second quarter. And Temple has just not gotten out to fast starts this year. But, just like I said, Mathis had some good plays in that game. He established some drives. He made a play where he threw a nice little over-the-top pass to Jaden Blue on 4th down, and Blue came down with an insane one-handed catch in the end zone to put the Owls on the board, and the momentum just shifted. And the next drive, the defense gets a nice turnover, sets them up in good field position again. Temple scores again. So that just allowed them to get back in the game. And then the second half, they were just able to get turnovers in key moments. There was a time where Memphis was driving down the field, and there was a fumble on like the 3-yard line, and Temple took over, and then they went down and capitalized off of that. So just stuff like that. Those big play moments actually happened in that game for the Owls. They were able to have some consistency against a Memphis defense that has struggled this year. Not necessarily against the run, but against the pass. So that's where Temple saw most of its success in that game. And I would assume is looking to find that success against UCF as well.
Ryan, let's talk big picture about this Temple football program. You mentioned Matt Rule, who's now obviously the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. You mentioned Jeff Collins, who's now at Georgia Tech. Who can forget the 18 days of the Manny Diaz tenure there at Temple? And then you have Rod Carey. 2019 his first year, 2020 a COVID year, obviously a tough year. Where is the arrow pointing up for this program, or is the arrow pointing down, or is it pointing kind of midpoint?
I think this arrow is it's trending a little downward, as unfortunate as to say. I like Rod. Rod's a good guy. He's an old school football coach, and sometimes people don't get his personality. But it's a more tough, hard-nosed style and personality that he brings to the table. And, I think that he just comes across as a little more standoffish, not in a bad way, but some people may take it that way with him. And, this program for the last decade hadn't had a losing season up until, they had 2 losing seasons in the last decade. So last year, obviously, with the 1-6 or 1-5, 1-6 year, people got freaked out because it's like this hasn't happened very often. And what happened? We still have the same players, but we're losing now. Obviously, you mentioned before I came on about towards the end of the year they were only playing like 40 guys or taking 40 guys on road trips, but people were optimistic that this year was going to be different, despite the exodus of players to the transfer portal that we saw. But I think there's reason for concern now because now you're seeing maybe that there was a reason for some of these players leaving, and there's obviously the portal's playing a factor now in the season. And Temple has struggled again this year against quality opponents. They've gotten not only beat, but they've been beat handedly. And then especially last week's loss to USF was a sort of a red light for the Owls. You shouldn't go on the road regardless of issues that you're having with your team and lose by 20 to a team that was 1-5 and hadn't beaten an FBS opponent in nearly 2 years. And not only that, you give up 400 rushing yards in doing so. So I think that was a little bit of a red flag. So definitely trending downward, but that's not to say that it can't get turned around with the rest of the year. I think that if Temple somehow manages to find its way to a bowl game this year, which still is very possible thanks to that win over Memphis, I think you can see that maybe the fans will be a little more happier and upbeat on Rod, especially if the Owls would manage to finally win a bowl game, as they have not had a lot of success even when they get to the postseason.
More of a curious question. Whatever happened with Anthony Russo? He seemed like he was a pretty solid quarterback. He played UCF really tough, and both the times I think we played him of recent years. And obviously, no, he's transferred out. Real Mitchell was another kid that was playing as well last year. What happened with both those quarterbacks, and how or why are they no longer at Temple?
Yeah, Anthony Russo, I got the impression that with Rod and his offense, with what they wanted to do, they wanted a more mobile quarterback. And with Russo being a guy who had played there so long and saw so much playing time, I think they came to a mutual agreement that he wasn't going to be the type of quarterback that they were looking for to run this offense. And he, even though he still had the ability to be the quarterback, I think he saw an opportunity with the portal of being a grad student that he could maybe boost his stock and go to a bigger school and play, which unfortunately has not happened since he went to Michigan State, and Peyton Thorne has been lighting it up this year for the Spartans. But I think that was the reason behind his departure. There was more so Temple was looking for a more mobile quarterback, and Russo was looking for a change of scenery and to boost his stock. Real Mitchell was a guy who just didn't pan out. I think we saw that he was billed as a very highly recruited player. Obviously, if people know the story behind that, he was a quarterback at a program, and then he lost his job to Clemson quarterback DJ Ulungale. And so I think we've seen now that maybe just those two quarterbacks weren't as good, and there was a reason that maybe he lost his job to Ulungale. And now that Ulungale got bunched last week, maybe that he's just not that good either. So, obviously nothing against Mitchell, but I just think he didn't have the passing ability there, and Temple was not willing to start him this year, considering he had fallen to 4th on the depth chart by the start of this season.
UCF is a big favorite in this one. UCF was a big favorite on the road at Navy a couple of weeks ago, left Annapolis with the L. What has to go right for Temple to come out of this game on Saturday with a win?
I think the first thing has to be that Temple's got to protect the ball first and foremost. They've struggled with that the last couple of weeks, whether it was against Cincinnati with a couple muffed punts, or whether it was last week, like I said, with the turnovers. Then they have to get out of the gates fast for once. They've been outscored 60-7 this year in the first quarter of games. So they've got to do something and find something early on offense. And obviously, like we talked about with the run game, they need to be able to find a way to stop the run and get off the field. When you have a defense that has to stay on the field for 94 plays in a game, they're going to be tired. And I expect them still probably to be having some lingering effects from that from last week. And especially with some of the injuries they have, they're playing some really young guys right now, like true freshmen. So that's a little bit of a worry. But I think that there's still a chance that the Owls can stay competitive in this game, obviously with Dylan Gabriel out and, the Knights using Mikey Keene and Joey Gatewood possibly as their quarterbacks. I think Temple has a chance there if they can force some mistakes, but they have to have a good game from the defensive line as well. They need to, just show that they can bounce back and not only stop the run of the UCF, but they also need to be able to get to the quarterback this week.
Let's wrap up with this. What is the reaction in your parts to the revamped American?
Initial thoughts, I liked a few of the additions. I really liked the UAB edition. I think they obviously are a no-brainer considering the market they play in and the success they've had and just the story, of them having dropped their football program and brought it back and seeing the success they've had. I liked that one. I liked UTSA's edition. North Texas, I was sort of so on. Charlotte, I was liked their addition as well. I think they're an athletic department that's willing to invest in their or they're a university willing to invest in their athletic department, and they've done so. Charlotte, obviously a large media market growing. So I liked that. The FAU edition was a little confusing to me. And I said this last week on the USF podcast that I just didn't feel like FAU added anything other than the fact that they're keeping a second team in Florida. And then the Rice edition was the biggest question mark to me. I think that obviously they're a very wealthy university, a very great academic school, but they're a place that has not ever seen really a lot of success other than baseball. And, they don't invest in their athletic department. So unless there's some sort of big promise that they did with Oresco that they're going to invest and revamp that stadium and, start investing in football and keeping that Houston market for the American, I was just very puzzled with that.
The Vandy of the American, Rice. Ryan Wallen covers Temple Athletics, does a great job at Owls Daily. You can find him at Ryan Wallen 24/7. Perhaps we'll catch up with you during basketball season just around the corner.
Sounds good. My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
You like the opportunity for the Knights in this one after listening to Ryan describe the Owls.
I do, Trace, but here's the thing. We are certainly a team that has not played well on the road. So the Temple, I mean, they have, I guess they're pointing in the down direction, but our road woes have been significant this year. I did find the fun stat, though, that we are 4-0 on natural grass, 0-3 on artificial turf. I believe the link is natural grass. So that should guarantee a win for UCF. But can we finally put something good on the road? You would think it all lines up, but we said this against Navy. So I guess I want to hedge my bets because Mike and I pounded our chest about the Navy game and we're going to win that thing handily. And here we are. So I guess I want to be somewhat cautious just because I don't know what road team's going to show up.
What's the turf in Dallas for that SMU game? Do you know that? Mike's not here. I got to ask you an off the wall question.
I believe it's artificial turf. Let me check on that for you. I think it's Gerald Ford Stadium, if I have that right.
While you check on that,
yeah.
Who do monsters buy cookies from? Ghoul Scouts.
Of course they do.
Sure, a little bit of Halloween in this show. Yeah. Revamped bowl projections. Brett McMurphy with the Action Network changes UCF's destination every week. Now has them playing Utah State in the Hawaii Bowl. Well, that is a great destination for the players. I don't think it's a good expense for the program, and it's certainly not easy to get to for the fans. CBS Sports still has UCF against Miami in the Military Bowl. ESPN's got Mississippi State and the Knights. We know that matchup in the Birmingham Bowl, but it's an SEC caliber team, right? SEC team. Against Louisville in the Military Bowl is another ESPN projection. I can't imagine that they're going to agree to a rematch. And USA Today's got Virginia Tech in the Gasparilla Bowl. You certainly would prefer one of those SEC, ACC matchups but it changes every week.
Yeah, I mean, of that list, I mean, Virginia Tech at the Gasparilla Bowl is closer, so I guess that one would be okay. But the matchup against Miami would be juicy, although it's the Military Bowl, which I believe is all the way from Virginia, so it may not be the best traveled game. And then, quick update to a recent story, Trace: SMU field turf in their stadium.
Yeah, that's not what you want. That's not what
I want
you
to
want.
hear. No.
We go around the kingdom. Women's soccer, Kristen Scott with a goal now, cuts the edge, second half at Cincinnati 2-1. Regular season finale. The Knights lose, currently 38th in the RPI. They're going to kind of limp into this conference tournament that begins Sunday. So perhaps they can rally. They just did get a goal. Volleyball continues to have a tremendous season, looking for a four-peat in the AAC. 9-1 overall. They swept Memphis in their last one. They've got Wichita State Sunday, Tulsa Friday. McKenna Melville, just a stellar year. AAC Offensive Player of the Week. Knights 27th in the RPI. Men's soccer, boo-hoo, hiss. They drop one to the Cows, 4-3, a golden goal for the Tampa team on Wednesday night at UCF. War on I-4 points in this one. Cows now lead this 9-6 in the early going. No, not good. Not good. And that's tough when the Knights 41st in the RPI, they host SMU. That's always a competitive game. You don't want to see soccer stumbling into the conference tournaments here.
Not sure if that's on field turf, but even the Cows soccer uniforms are ugly. They were wearing that same like lime highlighter green situation. Even their soccer jerseys are terrible.
Before we open the mailbag, Adam, why didn't the skeleton go to the prom? He had no body to go with. We're having a little...
We go from Mike double entendre humor to Trace to joke book humor. This is life comes at you fast, friends.
Good quality stuff here on a Thursday, or if you're listening on Friday or Saturday in preparation for the game.
Welcome to all of you. Yes.
Yes. Let's open up the mailbag. I copied and pasted these questions into the rundown, but I myself haven't studied them, so I'm going to be hitting them a little bit cold. At Zeebles UCF, 3 booms in 3 days. What are your way too early predictions for the final national ranking of UCF's 2022 recruiting class? And can Gus beat Cincinnati for #1 class in the AAC? Of course, you got to lock these guys in. All that star stuff is kind of silly, right? You get the points for the total number of players that you've recruited. I don't know if I'm going to go with a number. I don't know if they hold 35. I do think maybe they achieved their highest recruiting class, though.
Yeah, if we can crack top 30, I would be very ecstatic with that. But you said the key thing, Trace, here. All these commits right now, these are all verbals. We were hearing rumors recently that Thomas Castellanos was getting overtures from the University of Georgia. I think he's 1,000% locked in, Trace, if I saw his tweet correctly. So it's 1,000%.
Well, and he's shooting videos on TikTok and whatever with Coach Malzahn.
Yeah, not 110, 1,000.
But you can go back and you can see guys that showed UCF a lot of love on their social media that are playing elsewhere now.
So if we can get pen to paper, I will be fine with that. Top 30, I'd love that. And can we usurp Cincinnati? I think maybe. They had a big decommit today. I think they had a 4-star kid decommit I saw on Twitter today. But here's the wild card. If Fickell leaves that job for something else, obviously there's USC rumors out there. If James Franklin goes, there's Penn State rumors out there. If Fickell leaves that job, that could open the door for a couple of guys to decommit. Maybe UCF sneaks in. So outside chance we take over Cincinnati. If we get top 30, Mike will walk around with his shirt off.
Is that a selling point? Is that
not for me? It's not, but someone's gonna like that.
No, and I haven't posted this poll, but I've seen others post the poll. Or you're kind of rooting for Cincinnati to do what UCF and Boise State before that paved the way for. No, I'm not. Absolutely not. I mean, we're going into the Big 12 with Cincinnati, and there's no guarantee Luke Fickell takes another job. Cincinnati's going to up their budget, and now he's got a power job, right? I mean, I'm not rooting for them. I hope they lose every week.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah, I may be a bitter old fan, but I mean, this is the exact same run we went on in 2017, and we were the pariahs of college football. And now Cincinnati does well, and they're like, look how well this team is. They're well coached. They're all disciplined. I mean, we crawl so they could walk, and so I'm not of the mind to root for somebody else to do things that A, we've already done, and B, that don't really benefit me. or UCF.
Hello, Lynn. Lynn with the right answer there. No, we'll never root for Cincinnati. That is correct. Adam, a little trivia question. What was candy corn originally called?
Tri-colored juice.
Chicken feed. Chicken feed, the original name for candy corn. Where are you at on candy corn? No.
I don't love it. I don't hate it. I mean, I don't need it in my life. If someone throws me one, I'll maybe take one or two, but I'm not going to seek it out in my life.
At Golden Knight II, do you think the offense has lost their identity? UCF fast, question mark? And if so, will it ever come back under Gus? Ever? All right. Team's been awfully injured, but I don't know about UCF fast. You certainly don't see that mentioned anywhere anymore. Of course, when you got 63 passing yards, it's hard to tout UCF fast.
Yeah, it's probably gone, and I don't know if that's a bad thing. I mean, obviously, we lamented the Heupel fast system because we essentially said that the offense was just simply kind of quote unquote gimmicky. Now we're still seeing him put up points in Tennessee, so obviously there's effectiveness there, but it might be gone, and that might not be a bad thing. I don't think Gus was ever known as a ultra speed tempo coach. That does not mean we won't go quickly and that we won't work at a better tempo, but the fast element is gone, definitely gone right now. And maybe it comes back. I think Gus wants the right quarterback for that. And you saw some tempo under Dillon. So we'll see what that looks like. So it may be gone, but I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing.
You mentioned Dillon there. What do you think? Do you think he's coming back this season? I mean, the timetable's out to maybe the UConn game, maybe SMU. I mean, Mikey's a true freshman. Not all of these things are anything more than being young with not a lot of reps, but does UCF turn to him if he is in fact healthy? I don't know about UConn though. Would you trot him out at UConn?
No, that's if he can't play for SMU. So if he can't play by the SMU game, I don't know if we should just put him on mothballs and just kind of see what happens, because that's obviously a game that we have a potential to win down the road. So if he can't go by SMU, you don't trot him out for UConn. Yeah, maybe you bring him back out there for one more Black Friday game against the Cows, depending on how they are. But that's also a game where there's cheap shots, right? There's guys going to take hits. Do you expose him to that as well? One thing that's not a cheap shot, one thing that we don't want to expose our audience to, but I have no choice to, UCF Mike, at least his chair is here. UCF Mike has joined us now for the proceedings. But look, if you can't go for SMU and Robert says he's back for SMU, book it. I don't know where we book these things at. Who's got the book? Who's writing this stuff down? Somebody write this down for Robert. If he can't go by SMU, then I say you sit him for the rest of the year.
Mike, how was softball tonight?
It was another one for the books. I'll just say that. Leave it there.
We're booking that one too? We're booking everything. Okay.
Yeah.
If you've not been listening, I've been working in Halloween jokes and trivia. Mike, what's a zombie's favorite cereal?
I don't know. Count Chocula.
Welcome to the show I've been in, Mike.
Rice Creepies.
Yes, this is what I've been
doing. Boy, you guys really need me back in this one, huh?
Rice Creepies. At UCF Knight _115. As Mikey grows, will Gus incorporate more of the tight end in the pass system?
I don't think that's a Mikey problem as much as it's a tight end problem. I like seeing Charlie Browder, come out of I don't even know where for one pass play, and then we never saw him again. I don't know if it's a Mikey problem as much as it's a tight end problem.
Yeah, I don't think it's on the Keen, but the tight ends haven't done anything when they've had the chance. We've had a bunch of drops when they got in there, so there can't be too much confidence in these guys either.
What's the catch number through 7 games on the tight ends?
We're still at 8, I believe. We didn't have one last week, right?
And the preseason prediction was 25?
25 and a half. And a lot of people, I can get the stats. I have them behind me here. A lot of people took the over on that. So we should have made some money on that, Mike. Yikes.
At Knight _merchant. True or false? Joey Gatewood outperformed Mikey Keene against Memphis. Push? Can I push on true false?
Yeah, I say false. I mean, we're gonna give him a touchdown pass, but I mean, he literally threw the ball from me to the screen here, so I don't know how that one works out. Again, if there's a package of plays where I think he could be successful, I don't want to take all of Mike's thunder, so I'll just tee this one up. But the switching inside of a drive, I think is continues to just confound me. And I'm like, you want to just go off on that one because I know that's one of your pet peeves.
Well, it drove me nuts during the game when he came in on first down, didn't get anywhere, and then you bring in you bring in Mikey, and it's 2nd and 10, you put him behind the baseball ball right away. I didn't like that. If you're gonna bring Gatewood in, I say let him have the series, let him have a drive, If you're going to bring Mikey back, bring him in on a first down and let him start fresh.
Wouldn't you expect, though, that maybe this weekend at Temple is a time for Joey Gatewood to shine?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, right. So you're going to say we're going to go run heavy, right? And that's an opportunity, but that also messes the rhythm of the offense up, right? Does Bowser perform better in that setting? Do the running backs really take to that? Because typically we've seen Joey Gatewood run Joey Gatewood. So he's not going to be the main ball carrier. So sure, other packages of plays that you may want to get him in there and get him. But has Joey broken a long run and I've missed it? I mean, he's kind of getting those 3, 4, 5 yard chunks, which don't get me wrong, are great chain movers. But it's not like this is, Johnny Manziel out there breaking 30-yard runs. I haven't seen Joey really break one yet. And maybe he's due, and maybe this is the game. But I don't know that you run him out any more than you normally would in this one.
Yeah, he's a bigger guy. I like him in short yardage packages more than thinking he's going to come in and run for 50 yards. So a 3rd and 1, a 4th and 1, something on the goal line. That's where he serves his best purpose, I think.
Could we possibly see them both come out at the same time just to confuse defenses? Because as soon as we see Joey, we know what the play call is.
Well, then if Gus wants to get tricky, we throw new wide receiver Quadri Jones out in the field too. You got 3 quarterbacks at the same time. All hell's going to break loose. And probably no tight ends because we don't have any of those.
That does show you something, though, that we have moved Quadri to wide receiver.
What does it show me, though?
I
don't really
looking for a spark there. I mean, do you see him?
I don't really know, because let's just say, God forbid, and I'm going to knock on wood here, something happens to Mikey. Is Joey Gatewood our every down quarterback? Because now we've gone to Parker Navarro, who 2 weeks ago was on kickoff coverage. So I don't know what we're doing with that. I feel like that's where Quadri would have been, kind of the de facto number 2, but not really number 2 because Gatewood had a package. So that one was interesting to me. I understand the wide receivers have been kind of dinged up, but I actually found that one pretty interesting.
Maybe it's more they know that Dylan's coming back in a week or two, and Quadri would be number 4 on the list. And by then, what's the point? Maybe he can do something at receiver.
Do you think through 7 games we've seen much in the way of trickeration from Gus? Really? Not much.
Not lately. I mean, I think we saw the pass from O'Keefe to Dillon for the touchdown against Louisville. I think we saw some bit of a razzle-dazzle against Boise. Again, I think he's really taken the playbook, ripped out about 60 pages of it, and handed it to Mikey Keene and said, "Here you go." I don't think we're dealing anywhere with a full deck of a playbook from Gus right now. So I got to assume that unless you want to call the end arounds to Ryan O'Keefe and the misdirections, trick plays, I don't think you're seeing much, or we will see much in the trick play department.
At UCF Lee, is AAC championship still the goal? Sure.
Yeah, it is until it's not.
Sure.
Until we're eliminated, we can't control our own destiny anymore, which stinks. Now we're rooting for Houston to lose a couple times, but as long as we're still alive, yeah. And the goal now is just to win out the second half. Gus says we divided the season in half. The second half, now we got to go 6-0.
AAC play, ECU had jumped out to a 6-0 lead over the Cows. Cows have responded with 14 points, 3 minutes until the half. 14-6. Cows on the road in Greenville tonight.
Did they spot them 7? What happened?
Trivia time again, Mike, for you. How many pounds of candy corn are produced each year?
300 million pounds.
A little much, a little over 35 million pounds of candy corn is made every year. Robert, it was good seeing you Saturday at the Twitter meetup. What's the Drew Bellani's bar called?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Trace. That's Poor Choice Orlando. You can check those guys out. Yeah.
Robert, who's planning a barbecue feast of some sorts the Friday before the SMU game, so I'm looking forward to that. He asked, do you think Gus would be open to extending a grad assistant position to Mackenzie Milton in 2022? UCF Lee also asking, is there room for Mackenzie on the coaching staff? I think there's always room for Mackenzie Milton on the coaching staff somewhere.
Yeah, there's room on any coaching staff for any grad assistant who essentially is a free labor at that point, right? So I think you always figure out a way to work those guys in. Obviously, there is no connection, quote unquote, between Gus and Mackenzie. But I think one thing Gus has done is welcomed back the former players, embraced sort of the UCF past. I think there's no chance in hell that he would turn down Mackenzie Milton now. But will Mackenzie want to come to UCF? Obviously, Scott Frost in Nebraska, they have a relationship. Josh Heupel in Tennessee.
No, so not so much.
There may be other suitors out there, but I think if KZ wants to come back, I think Gus would figure that out.
Maybe even at Florida State.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe Norvell will offer him a position.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to be in a rush to get McKenzie back. If he's got opportunity somewhere where he's more familiar, that's fine. Eventually, he'll make his way back here. And if he wants to come back next year, I'm sure Gus would be open to it. But I don't think it has to happen next year.
At the CMAS 14, over under on how many plays we're going to miss on Saturday due to ESPN Plus camera production. Well, you won't know exactly, will you? I mean, you won't know what you're missing because you just won't see it. 3?
I'm gonna go 3.
Do you think there's crowd noise? There may not be crowd noise anyway in Philadelphia at noon. There may not be a large crowd for that one.
I'm missing basically the whole first quarter because it's on ESPN Plus. I don't have the ability to record it, and I've got softball games that go until about 12:30. So I'm out basically for the first quarter. If this was on a regular channel, I could record it and catch up like I like to do, but this sucks.
And then no syncing up with Mark Daniels, though you could have him in your ears at softball. Our friend JP Gilbert, are you picking us to go 9-3 this season, or are you a coward? He likes to frame things. He called Nitro a coward a couple of weeks ago on social media.
Yeah, he's also anti-Mandalorian. Yeah, he's anti-Mandalorian.
Yes, no.
I'm gonna go coward. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I just if I need to know more about injuries, that SMU game is looming. I'm gonna go coward. I don't think we run the table.
I say we're going 11-3. We're going to sneak our way into the championship game. We win that one, and we're going to win our bowl game too. 11-3. Book it.
At the SOTG, Kyle, if UCF wins a bowl game, does that still mean 2021 was successful? I think that's too early to say. I mean, what are they, a 6-6 team winning the Cure Bowl and 7-6? I don't know that I consider that successful, so I think it's too early.
Eric Lopez with maybe a lifeline for you, Mike, and a new word I've never heard before. Look, considering where we are now, yes, that
archives.
Archives. Is that archives? Okay,
that's archives.
I didn't know. It's. I thought it was anchovies initially. Considering where we are right now, yes, that would be a good occasion to get to a bowl game. However, when we started the season off, if we said this is where we are and this is the bowl game, probably not what we wanted. But considering the hands we've been dealt, it's probably a good season all told. If we really want to be honest about it, but obviously we're not honest. We're fans. We're not realistic. We're idiots. So that's probably not going to go well with everybody.
Yeah, it depends on the bowl. It depends on who we're playing. Yeah, you're right. If it's 6-6 in the Boca Bowl that we're beating North Tennessee or whatever, some school you never heard of, then no, it's not a successful season.
I don't think North Tennessee is a school, so I don't think anyone's heard of that one.
If they are, they're now in the America.
Fair.
At Grajales, Debbie, what do you think our biggest recruiting needs are? Kickers? O-line? There's definitely some needs, especially with the graduation that could come or loss of players at the O-line, possible 3 there.
Yeah, I think O-line is one. I think linebacker depth behind JJB and Tatum Bethune. Bryson Armstrong is a 5th-year grad transfer, so I think he's pretty much done after this season. We haven't seen Quaden Mosier at all in the field. We haven't seen Colt Joyce in the field at all, so we're going to need a couple of linebackers to step in at some point too. But I think O-line's another one as well.
Yeah, the skill positions have always seemed to fill in nicely at UCF, but the offensive line is what really needs to build. And you're right, we're going to be missing a lot of guys after this season with the graduation, so that's got to rebuild quickly.
At Capt Vij1, where do we do our gloating now? We're not in the Big 12 yet. We're also not really a part of the AAC crowd anymore. When do we get to play on the big boy boards? I don't know that we have a whole lot to be gloating about at the moment, right? Let's just win some games.
I wrote quiet now, gloat later. I think we're, as Gus said, this thing turned quickly from we're going to be the future of college football to we're building this thing. So we're still building this thing right now. So I say we take our lumps, we work the process, and we gloat wherever we can find opportunities to gloat when that time comes.
Now, we've been on the big boy boards now since 2017. We'd like to talk trash. We're getting some of it back our way right now, but still, you got to hang in there, keep talking the trash, and then eventually we'll be back.
Cincinnati with a goal, now lead women's soccer 3-1. Not much time left in that one. At blackgold_ed, 4 home games, 4 sing-alongs to Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. Hit or meh?
It's a hit it for winning. If we're leading going to the fourth quarter and we're winning comfortably, it's a great old time against Boise. Mike, you were there. Trace, you were there. Everyone was singing. Everyone was annoyed. Everyone was drunk. It was fantastic. Against ECU, it was like, here we go. So if we're winning, it's a nice little thing. Everybody's got this kind of weird tradition. I'm all in for us starting one, but I think you need the scoreboard to be in our favor for that to work out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to catch on more than this year. And it seems a little forced. It was fun. You're right. That first game. I think something eventually will catch on organically, something probably more to do with UCF.
That's what the AD wants. The AD who did a pretty good job on his video dressed as Nitro this week. So a little fun from Terry Mahajer. All right. So how many calories are in an average trick-or-treater's Halloween stash? Sure. Halloween trivia. 4th and goal for ECU, trying to score right before the half. How many calories in a typical trick-or-treater's?
2,100.
2,100. Mike? It's like The Price is Right.
300 million.
Oh, my goodness. 11,000.
Wow.
11,000. At Rejoice Nights, good to see Joyce on Saturday at the Twitter Mafia meetup. Do you like any of the pumpkin spice food items out this fall? And if so, which is your favorite? She likes the Starbucks pumpkin spice latte. I do not care for pumpkin anything, so I'm out on the pumpkin.
So far, the theme of this show, Mike, has been Trace alternating between pumpkin joke and shout out to somebody he saw at the UCF Twitter meetup here. So that's pretty much been what we've done while you were gone, just to catch you up. I'm all in on the pumpkin stuff. Big pumpkin fan. I do have my limitations. I don't really like coffee, so pumpkin latte wouldn't be me. But pumpkin cookie, pumpkin donut, pumpkin loaf, pumpkin pie. I'm all in on the pumpkin stuff.
I had a pumpkin beer last week, and it was pretty good. I think it was called the Pumpkin, and I just bought it on a whim. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. My wife actually liked it more than me. She stole all of them.
Are you? When's your next tailgate? And what are you planning on making?
I don't even know if I'm going to make it up to any more games.
Whoa! Hey now.
Maybe the Cal game.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's not happening against Tulane or UConn. That's for sure.
Yeah, UConn seems, boy, that's going to be a fun guess, the attendance, by the time we get to that one. What were the first ever fun-size candy bars?
Snickers.
Snickers is one. Mike, can you name the other?
Twix.
Milky Way. That leads us into our last mailbag question. At S. Morrow, can the three of you and Gus break down your least favorite Halloween candies? He's channeling the Mike Leach response in the post game. What are your favorites?
So we're doing least favorite or most favorite?
Favorite, least favorite. Go with favorite.
You know what? I've always been a sucker for a good Three Musco. Give me a good Three Musketeers. Least favorite?
No,
Anything with like the coconut, these mounds, almond joys, all that nonsense. Get that out of here. Also, don't like Starburst because I come out of it. I feel like I went through a football game. My jaw hurts. I'm disoriented. I've been chewing for like 95 minutes. So get the Starburst out of here. I don't have the mental fortitude for that.
Yeah, I'm all about the little chocolate bars, but the Reese's are my favorite. And I'm gonna clean out every Reese's the kids bring into the house this weekend.
You got to check the candy.
Yeah, I put away like 45 of those in the first 2 nights.
Earlier, before you joined us,
first 2 nights of what, Mike? Halloween.
I'm eating them because I have so much left over. It's between now and Thanksgiving. All I'm doing is eating their candy.
Earlier, before you joined the show, Adam mentioned that if we finished, was it in the top 30, top 25 of the recruiting rankings, that
top
Mike would
30.
be walking around, would do a show with his shirt off? I don't remember. What was it that you promised?
I said
Mike
if we go top 30 national recruiting ranks, Mike would walk around without a shirt on.
For
if
a
you guys,
game, for a day, for what?
I'm not saying I want it, Mike. I'm just telling you, I think you'd be that excited if we were top 30 in the nation recruiting that you'd be all, no shirt needed for Mike.
How high do we have to be for completely naked? Top 10?
1. 1.
Beating out Alabama.
What's better than 1? Trace, go to a trivia question, quick.
Yes. Okay, well, by the way, East Carolina fumbles on 4th and goal right before the half, and the Cows recover it. That is just a nonsense turnover play game. In what American state, we'll end with this, is it illegal to be dressed as a priest or nun for Halloween?
Oregon.
Oregon's pretty liberal.
Ooh, I don't know. Montana.
Montana. The answer is where I lived for 4 years. It doesn't surprise me at all. Alabama. It is illegal. It is a violation of Section 13A 14-4. It is punishable it's a misdemeanor. You'd be punished with a fine if convicted. I don't know how many of those they've done, but that's your Halloween trivia. All right. What is your final prediction for this weekend?
I'm going to go 34-13 good guys.
Ooh, give me 27-10.
27-10. 24-13 UCF. I think they cover the 10.5. By the way, Mike, I looked up in the standings for you only to find you below me. So the shot that even Trace is ahead of me, I don't know that quite fits when I'm comfortably patting my lead over you.
Yeah, you're up by 2 points. You and Elo, you guys are all dropping the ball before you even cross the end zone. I see a lot of dancing going on. There's still about 6 weeks to go. Keep your shirts on. It's not over yet.
No one promised that. I did not promise that. So
Why are you guys dancing, by the way?
You think you're going to beat us, or you think you're going to catch the leader in this?
No, I've had a horrible year with my picks. I'm not even close. I can't remember the last time I had a winning week. But you're only 2 ahead of me. All I'm saying is I wouldn't be getting that crazy yet. I still got time to make a comeback.
Well,
Mike is earlier. I said even Mike is below me.
Mike is the Gus Malzahn of this pick pool, right? This is second half of the season. He's got now the new goals in front of him. His goals are not to win. His goals are just to take out you and I suppose Elo as well. You going for Elo too?
Elo's put some distance between himself and me too. I don't know if that's possible. Maybe he'll forget to enter his pick for a week.
Elo for sure dancing on that one. Happy birthday, Coach Malzahn. Go Knights this weekend in Philly. Safe travels to all the Knights traveling up to the Lincoln Financial Field for this one. Mike, enjoy the second, third, and fourth quarters of it. I will only be catching the first half. I'll be in Denver coming up beginning tomorrow through the weekend, visiting family. Got my niece's basketball game right about the third quarter. I'll do my best to listen on the radio through iHeart. Let's get a win to move to 5-3 and come back home for homecoming week. By the way, Mike, we need a top 5 list, something related to homecoming concerts. There was a little bit of talk earlier about Gainesville band, Sister Hazel performing.
Lenny Kravitz is fantastic. Yes, Lenny Kravitz is
number
really
1.
good.
Blink 182. Number 2. Busta Rhymes. Number 3.
Wow, we're breaking out a top 5 here.
That wasn't all
What was the other
homecoming.
one? Our freshman year, dude. Violent Femmes.
The Violent Femmes.
Number
Yeah,
4.
that was trash though.
Well, that's why they're number 4. And that's the 4 that we were there for. So, number 5, I think.
Maybe Sister Hazel will now make the list. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Go Knights!